Welcome to the Escape Podcast, Monster Month.
Hello, welcome to the Escape Podcast, and the return of Monster Month. That was Josh. That was Josh. And I'm Brandon.
I'm Josh.
Okay.
He said that.
And, yeah, we're doing Monster Month again. We did Monster Month last year for October.
Yes. Well, one was
a little late, but it's okay.
November.
So, you know, last year, did you have fun doing Monster Month?
Had so much fun.
Well, you're not the biggest horror person. I'm more into horror between the two of us.
You just are into horror.
Yeah. Well, it's not like I don't like stabby stuff exactly. Like
I like thrillers and scary movies, but to me, there's a difference between like a scary movie and like a slasher movie.
Yeah, well,
which is funny because this guy I used to work with, Nate.
Mm-hmm. Nate Dogg?
Yes, Nate Dogg. I was waiting for you to say it. He disagreed with me. I was saying, well, you know, there's like a suspense thriller, or there's, you know, this, and there's a horror, there's a slasher. And he was saying, no, it's all... Well, you do it with your sci-fi and your fantasy. You were just breaking down like, oh, this is a fairy tale, this is a dark fantasy.
I don't know why you break them out. They're all movies, Josh.
You were breaking them down, you jerk.
Oh, okay.
Subgenre freak.
So yeah, I don't necessarily like everything. Like I'm not just out to see people get stabbed in the face. You know, some of those movies are fun, but like usually on the cheese.
Stabbed in the neck, that's okay, but in the face is where I draw the line, right?
Well, I mean your big toe. So anyway, like I like monsters and creative stuff and creepy stuff. I don't know, it's just fun. So anyway, we had a lot of fun doing it last year. We're doing it again this year. We're gonna do our best to pump out 10.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna make it though.
Well, we're gonna try. So before we get into the movie, do you have any fun Halloween stories? A costume you really liked? Maybe something with Benji? Something crazy that happened at a Halloween party?
The one thing I remember the one year, I think it was for Batman Returns. It had just come out, so I was Batman. And this one...
You gotta say it right, though.
I'm Batman.
There you go. Okay.
I was Batman. And there was this one house that they had set up this... Like the tarps that you would put over like a boat to weatherize your boat or a pool or something.
Yeah.
They'd put that over this porch and enclosed it. And it was so you could like, when the light shone through it, you could like see silhouettes. And they kept showing like, you kept seeing like this person like with a knife going down and like stabbing someone. And when you got there, like they only had you go in one at a time. So like basically from maybe that wall to maybe almost to that dresser thing over there. So it was a pretty big porch, maybe even a little longer. So I'm probably, let's see, how old was I in 92? I was 9? I think that's when Batman Returns came out, 92, right?
Sounds right.
Okay. So I was still kind of little, and I remember they finally had to walk in, and this guy is at this, like, Skeletor's throne at the end of the porch, and Freddy Krueger was in it, which I didn't know exactly who he was, but I knew enough. And in hindsight, I don't know how I did. And there was people around me, like, and they seemed like giants because I was such a little kid, and they were dressed up as some kind of monsters, and I was too afraid to even look up at them. But I remember he was like, "Come to me, Batman," and he was holding the bowl of candy, so I had to like walk right up to and like take candy from him. And I remember I did it. I'm surprised that I didn't just like bust right out of there when I saw him, because like you didn't know what was going to be in there until they let each individual kid go in, and they only let you go one at a time.
Yeah. And
I remember I went up there and did it, and then when I went back, one of those goons was blocking the thing, so like, and he wanted to scare me. And I remember like, again, he seemed like a giant to me, and I was too afraid to look up at him. And I just like, I remember he was like blocking the door, and I just pushed him out of the way and went out, because I knew like I was about at my breaking point, you know, about being scared. And in hindsight, I don't know how I did it, because I was a little kid, you know. Yeah,
we had people in our neighborhood that would do stuff like that. I remember I kind of did it one year where I sat out, like, we had a big bowl, and it said, like, take one, please, on it. And then it was in my lap, and I'm sitting there, like, in a Grim Reaper unit gown.
Yeah.
And I had kind of my face covered up a little, and I'm looking down at the candy. But I never did anything. I just sat there. But everybody was creeped out because they knew it wasn't. They like, it's a person. But I just sat as still as I could.
So you're like Jigsaw? That's an actual Saw reference.
Yeah.
You never saw Saw?
No.
Oh.
You're ahead of me there. I'm the horror guy, and you saw Saw, and I didn't.
Yeah.
Seesaw.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, it's a fun Halloween story. You know, it doesn't seem, maybe because I'm not a kid and I don't go out anymore, but it almost seems like people don't do as much. Like when I see Halloween decorations now, it's usually almost like Christmas decorations that people have out.
They're more like, oh yeah, they do like the Christmas lights, but they're like
Yeah.
orange and black.
And like I remember when people had like gravestones out on their.
So, actually, our neighbor over here, he was
Yeah.
actually doing this thing where he had a ghost or something hung up in the tree, and like when certain but it would be over the sidewalk. So when certain kids would walk down, he would like have it come down.
That's hilarious.
And so Benji, he's 2. He's going to be 3 this September. So we took him out to actually walk down a few houses. And I remember the guy did it, and he wasn't afraid of it at all. He laughed, I think.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, so I was actually pretty proud of him.
All right, kind of a fun story if I can remember it right. So my cousin had some Halloween decorations, and they were like bloody severed limbs, but they're made out of foam.
Yeah.
Right? So they put them out on the lawn for Halloween. Well, she had 2 big Rottweilers, and I guess somehow one of the dogs got a hold of these and managed to get outside into the front yard with them. So she's outside. This big Rottweiler is sitting outside in the front yard chewing on a bloody severed limb.
Yeah.
She said she was surprised that nobody called the cops on her.
Yeah, we had a neighbor in our old house in the old neighborhood, who they went all out. They would, have the tombstones. They would have like, he would stuff newspaper or whatever into like old clothes, so like bodies hanging in the trees and out in the lawn and all. Like it seemed kind of fun at the time, but like now like you can get like really grotesque or more realistic looking dummies and crap. But he was homemaking everything, but still. It was always kind of fun each year to see what he was going to do.
Yeah, it's always been a fun time of year for me, especially. I liked everything about it. I even like those motion sensors things. Like they'd be like a ghost or a bat or whatever. You walk up and it's starting to.
I've seen some at like Target and stuff. They're mirrors, but when you look at it, like it's something different. So last year,
what do you mean it's something different?
Like it looks like a mirror, but then like when you get close to it, there's a sensor or something, and then like some monster face or something or ghost face.
I have not seen that.
Oh, so like Brandon just said, we did this last year, and we were in the process of Monster Month, and I was driving home from work, and I took a little more of a obscure way home. And I work early morning hours, so when I was getting off work, it was still slightly dark. And I'm going around this corner, and I see a full-size Jason. Hockey mask, the blade, the whole 9 yards. Like, kind of behind this telephone pole, but sticking out, like, you could see him. And I was like, because, you're a big horror guy, so I was, like, thinking, I should have pulled over. And I was going to walk up to him and get a picture with him and just show you, or throw it up on the Facebook. And I was like, I'll take this route tomorrow.
So it was like a dummy standing there.
It was... I guess it was a dummy. I mean, it wasn't Halloween yet. So it was just, it was October, so like people were decorating, but it wasn't Halloween yet. So I'm like, okay, I'll come back tomorrow and get this picture. I wasn't even going to tell you about it. I just wanted like, hey, here's a picture of me and Jason. And the next day I'm looking, where is he? I think I even turned around and went back. I could not find him. I
think I remember you telling me about this.
I went back. I drove that way on purpose for like a couple weeks straight. Never saw the thing again. And then I was
walked away.
Yeah, I was like, what the crap was it? Was it a guy just trying to mess with people? Never saw it again. So I think this October I will, just to see if he's out there again, if he puts him out there. I don't know if it was like Jason, such a cool prop
if you're
that
listening
someone
to our
stole
podcast.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I wondered if maybe because it was such an impressive looking like dummy, because it looked like how like his head is, what you can see of his head, like it had all that. So I don't know if someone stole it from this guy's yard or whatever, but anyway.
All right, well, we'll try and tell maybe some more stories for each of our episodes or something. Anyway, so last year we started with 1981's An American Werewolf in London. And 1981 happened to be the year of the wolf in Hollywood, basically. There were 3 big kind of werewolf movies that came out that year, all around the same time. And also... There was another movie that featured a werewolf, And then there was a Spanish werewolf movie that came out when I was looking it up. Yeah, so there were 5 movies with werewolves that year. American Werewolf in London, I think, is the biggest one. This would be number 2, The Howling. And we can do some comparisons to that as we go.
Very well.
I wanted to look up to see what our scores were, but I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I gave it an A, and you probably gave it like a C or a D because you're weird. Sure. But yeah, 1981, The Howling. Alright, the synopsis. Karen White is a Los Angeles television news anchor who is being stalked by a serial murderer named Eddie Quist. In cooperation with the police, she takes part in a scheme to capture Eddie by agreeing to meet him in a sleazy porno theater. Eddie forces Karen to watch a video of a young woman being raped, and when Karen turns around to see Eddie, she screams. The police enter and shoot Eddie, and although Karen is safe, she suffers amnesia. Her therapist, Dr. George Wagner, decides to send her and her husband Bill Neal to The Colony, a secluded resort in the countryside where he sends patients for treatment. But things aren't quite what they seem. Ow. You've seen this movie before, right?
Once.
Because I remember when I asked you before, you always talk about meat.
Yeah,
Get your meat story out of the way right now.
No, it's not a story. It's just there's a few scenes that always stuck out to me, and one of them, yes, happened to be the ending. Because my friends and I that we watched it, we just thought it was hilarious that they showed the burger on the grill. You know, the credits are rolling. You see the spatula come in and flip it over, watch it sizzle, more credits. You know, and just press it down and flip it over. We just thought it was funny. That's why it sticks out to me.
Yeah, when I saw that, when I watched it recently for the podcast, and I was looking at the scene, I'm like, oh, that's what he was talking about. And then I'm watching it, and the only thing I could think was that guy's ruining that burger.
Just pressing it down so flat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway. Yeah, I remember liking this movie. I saw it. I always thought werewolves were cool. I think we both talked about that before.
Yes. When I was a kid, there was like 3-4 years in a row I was always a werewolf.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I loved werewolves.
All right, well, so maybe on the next episode you can tell us about your werewolf costumes.
Yeah, it's not that
impressive. Not right now,
It's
though.
not that impressive, so.
Well, you kind of look like a werewolf. Anyway, so, yeah, I liked this movie when I had seen it originally. I can't remember how old I was. Probably a teenager. I know it was one of those things where it and its sequels would come on TV quite often.
How many sequels are there?
Well, I'll get to that in the trivia, but I think there's 7.
What?
With supposedly a remake on the way.
Okay, I was thinking there was going to be 3 movies total, not 7. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Chicks.
So there's a lot of them. This one is actually the best one. I've seen most, if not all of them, and this one's like the only good one.
Okay.
If you want to call it good.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Trivia. 1981. It was directed by Joe Dante on a budget of $1.5 million.
$1.5 million?
$1.5 million.
Wow. That's hilarious.
As we go through Monster Month, you're probably going to notice a lot of the budgets are going to be on the lower end.
Okay. That's funny.
Horror movies are infamously cheap to produce.
What was its return?
It received $17.9 million in at the box office, and currently has a 68% critic score and a 57% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay. Comparatively, An American Werewolf in London was directed by John Landis, was released in 1981, had a $5.8 million budget, so almost 5 times the budget, about 4 times.
You said Joe Dante?
Yeah.
He did The Burbs?
He did The Burbs. So Joe Dante's been on the podcast before, and he will be on it again, I'm sure.
Okay.
So An American Werewolf in London, they had the $5.8 million budget, but it received $62 million at the box office. And it currently holds an 88% critic score and an 85% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's like Back to the Future.
How?
I'm being very stupid. Because you said 88 miles per hour, 85, came out in 85. I was just making it really ridiculous.
You and your numerical jokes. Anyway.
88 miles per
It was based on the novel of the same name, written by Gary Brandner, which was first published in 1977. The Howling was also notable for its special effects, which were state-of-the-art at the time. The transformation scenes were created by Rob Bottin, who had also worked with Dante on Piranha And Rick Baker was the original effects artist for the film, but left the production to work on John Landis's An American Werewolf in London,
Traitor.
handing over the effects to Botten. Joe Dante put many in-joke references in the film, including numerous references to wolves. The big bad wolf from... I don't know how to say this name. I'm gonna attempt it, though. The big bad wolf... I can't even say wolf. The big bad wolf from E-Works. Little Boy Blue from 1936 is seen on TV. Sheriff Newfield is seen eating Wolf brand chili. And a similar can is seen on the counter in Eddie's cabin. A copy of the Allen Ginsberg book, Howl, appears. A mention of disc jockey Wolfman Jack. A bottle of Wolfen brand medicine is on the counter, in which Karen picks up the acid. And in Karen and Bill's cabin, there is a picture of a wolf who killed a sheep within the flock.
Okay.
I remember that painting, seeing that painting, and thinking, oh, that's kind of funny. And then I started to notice all the other wolf stuff they put in there. There have been several sequels to The Howling. In May 2015, a newly formed production company announced that they had bought the rights to the original film and were working on a 9th film, a remake of the original. So there's 8 of these.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I know that the 4th one was also a remake. I think actually that's in my trivia somewhere.
So technically, by the time they got to the 4th, it was remade, and then they did the 5th that just continued on with the original 3.
The 3rd one wasn't even really connected either. They're weird. They're all weird.
Did the wolves at least start looking? Did they keep that same look for them?
In the 3rd one, they were marsupials.
What?
It took place in Australia, and they were like...
Oh my goodness.
They were either like were Tasmanian tigers, or were dingoes, or were kangaroos.
Yeah, I was going to say they could at least made them a dingo, but like...
I think they may have even been kangaroos. Maybe they were all of those.
You'll have to show me where...
That one I kind of like because of how weird it is and interesting.
That's which one? The 5th one, you said?
That was the 3rd one. And I think the 6th one is the one where there's a boy that's a werewolf.
Okay.
Like maybe about 20 years old, and he joins the circus, and the leader of the circus is a vampire, and they end up fighting.
Okay.
So they go all over the place. I know there's one where it takes place in a castle, but it's modern times still.
Okay.
So, anyway... there were times during the shooting when Robert Picardo was very despondent about the hours he had to spend in makeup. On the special edition DVD, he remarked, "One day after spending 6.5 hours in the makeup chair, I was thinking, trained at Yale, 2 leading roles on Broadway, my first acting role in California, and my face gets melted down in a low-budget horror movie. All the crew had to say to that was, Bob, next time read the script all the way through first." So he didn't sound like a happy camper. So there's our Star Trek connection.
Yes, he played the holographic doctor in Star Trek Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
And you also see another version of that in Star Trek First Contact.
He was also in The Burbs, as well as in several other Joe Dante movies.
Right.
Joe Dante is one of those directors that likes to reuse a lot of actors. Right. The one that showed up in all of his films, or close to all of them, is Dick Miller.
Yeah, I was actually going to make a point about that we got the return of our 2 favorite garbage men.
Yeah, he was in it. He was the librarian at the cult store or whatever it was. There have been 7 sequels to The Howling. The final transformation had to be done all in close-up because the film had exceeded its budget, and this had to be shot in Joe Dante's office because they had no money for sets anymore.
The final transformation, now, are they talking about the group of them?
No, I think that it was
the one
probably
of
Eddie.
Robert. Oh, yeah, Eddie, yeah. Yeah, because it's all in the doctor's office.
Yeah. Due to his work in this film, Joe Dante received the opportunity to make the movie Gremlins in 1984 for Steven Spielberg. That film references The Howling with a smiley face image on the refrigerator door. Eddie Quist leaves a yellow smiley face sticker as his calling card in several places throughout The Howling. Also, Jim Krell's character as news reporter Lou Landers appears in both.
Lou Landers.
Yeah, so there we go, another one. So Lou Landers appears in both The Howling and in Gremlins, which suggests the movie has a shared universe.
But he's the same news anchor guy?
Yeah.
Oh.
This film and Howling 4, the original Nightmare from 1988, are both based on the same novel by Gary Brandner. Interestingly, Howling 4, the original Nightmare, actually represents more faithful adaptation of the novel than the
That's not very interesting.
Dee Wallace, who plays Karen White in this movie, and Christopher Stone, who plays Bill Neal, were engaged in real life while shooting the movie. Joe Dante had been very critical of the book that the movie is based on. He did many interviews talking about how the book wasn't very good and how they had improved it in his film. One day at the Hollywood Scriptwriting Institute for a lecture, Dante started talking about and bad-mouthing the book. A man raised his hand from the audience and said, "So, you don't like the book, huh?" And Dante answered, "Well, no, not really." To which the man in the audience replied, "Because I wrote the book." The man in the audience was none other than Gary Bradner, the man who wrote the book. Dante was caught by the author on television. In one scene, Earl Kenton, who was played by John Carradine. You know John Carradine? He was the old man.
Was he in UHF?
No. I know who you're thinking of, but no, that wasn't him.
What is he from? He's the station manager, right? Of the news station?
Oh, the other guy.
Is that what you're talking about?
Or
are you talking about the doctor? Who are we talking about?
I'm talking about the old man werewolf.
Oh, okay. He looks very familiar. I can see him in a hat. What is he from?
He's been in all sorts of stuff. Lots of low budget, horror and exploitation movies. I'm sure if I went through his list, he's been in so much stuff.
Okay, very well. What about him?
In one scene, John Carradine mentions UFOs and cattle mutilation. Around the time he wrote the screenplay for The Howling, John Sayles was also working on a script for Steven Spielberg known as Night Skies, which involved UFOs and cattle mutilation. However, the project was dropped when Spielberg chose to make E.T. instead. That's all the trivia I have for that. The guy you're talking about was in UHF. I thought you were talking about the bum. Because the bum kind of looks like John Carradine. But I'm trying to remember his name now. But I love that actor. Yeah, I forget the character's name, or the actor's name, but the character he played in UHF was R.J. Fletcher, and he was the station manager of Channel 8.
Yeah, okay.
He's a fun actor to watch.
Sure.
So this is directed by Joe Dante. We already said he did The Burbs. He was born in November of 1946. He's currently 71. His other films that we're familiar with include Piranha, Explorers, Inner Space, The Burbs, Gremlins and Gremlins 2, Matinee, and Small Soldiers.
Okay. This is a very different movie for him than...
This one, there are parts of it that have a little bit of comedy in it. When I think of Joe Dante, I think of comedy horror. The Burbs.
Yeah.
Gremlins. Piranha.
Yeah.
And when I say Piranha, I'm not talking about those new ones. That one was from 1978, his first film. I think it was also a Roger Corman film. Roger Corman production. You know who Roger Corman is? Yeah. So he's from around here, Roger Corman. He's from Michigan. Yep. King of the B movies. A lot of people.
Yeah, he buys a lot of the rights to other movies, even movies he didn't do, right?
Probably. But
if I'm not mistaken, he re-releases these obscure movies that maybe would never see the light of day again. Yeah, a lot of people get their start under Corman, including James Cameron. Okay.
I like Joe Dante for the most part, at least his earlier stuff. Like The Burbs was great, Gremlins was great.
Yeah.
I don't mind The Howling. I think it's decent. Piranha actually was surprising to me. I had seen the new one, I think, before, one of the newer ones, before I ever saw the original. The original, was great. I loved it.
It's just basically like mini Jaws. Kind of, right?
It's considered one of the Jaws clones, basically. Yeah. One of the ones that came out after Jaws that kind of copied it. But it was more comedic and goofy and weird.
Right.
And
I wonder how many of those there are.
Too many. I can tell you that. I think it was called Piranha 3D. I don't know how many new ones they have. But it was so ridiculous and over the top, in not a good way. You looking it up?
Yeah. Oops. 78 to The Spawning in 81. Then there was a 1995 remake of the 78 version. Then there's 3D, 3DD. Then there's a 1972 unrelated Piranha.
So there's 5?
And then there's a Russian Piranha from 2006. So yeah.
Not including those
last 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5.
Okay. So, Joe Dante, Inner Space. I like that one a lot. That one's
Oh,
a
that
little
was
bit
him?
different too. Yeah.
Okay.
That was more of a sci-fi adventure in a way.
Yeah. I could go over that. Yeah.
Yep. I saw there was a show on Showtime called Masters of Horror, and they had people come to direct different episodes, and each episode was it was at least an hour long.
Okay.
So they were like mini movies almost in a
Sure.
way. Some of them may have even been full feature length. Joe
Sounds
Dante
very
came
familiar.
and did like one or two of them, and I hated them.
Oh, really?
But normally, like a lot of Joe Dante stuff I've seen, I've liked, so it
Okay.
kind of surprised me. It was just it was like so over the top political. I couldn't believe it.
Did he? He probably didn't write it though.
I think he did. I think
Oh.
they had full control.
Oh, okay.
So, like, basically, the episode was about how U.S. soldiers were coming back to life to vote against George Bush.
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't sound.
It's like, yeah, it's ridiculous. That's not even a horror movie.
To vote against George Bush.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand you have your opinions, but that's a little too much right there.
Yeah.
So, interestingly enough, John Landis, I should say, did 2 episodes of Master of Horror as well, and they both happen to be my favorite episodes.
I remember you talking about that on the American Werewolf in London, actually.
One of them is tied into it. It's called The Deer Woman,
Yes. I
and
remember saying
it's about a cop who's going around investigating these deaths,
that. Okay.
and he starts to suspect it's some kind of weird animal that's doing it.
Okay.
So when he comes up with this theory that it's some kind of mutant deer or
Okay.
something like that, he explains to his captain that in 1981 in London there was a mutant wolf going around attacking people. He was talking about American Werewolf in London.
Oh, I see. That's cool.
So the cast: Dee Wallace, many people would know her as
Elliot's mom.
in E.T.
Yeah.
She's been in lots of stuff. She's been in The Stepford Wives, The Hills Have Eyes, The Howling, E.T., Cujo, Critters, where she also I think she plays a mom in a lot of
Wow. So she's in a lot of like creature type
these.
movies.
She's been deemed a scream queen.
Really? Mm-hmm. What's funny is she has more of the like a classic look.
She has more of like an innocent look to her.
Yeah,
Like,
she has like she's cute in this. You know what I mean? Like she
Yeah.
has like that cute girl you want to talk to. You know, like kind of that more vibe.
Hi, Brittany.
Well, you know what I mean. Well, like Brittany, but you know what I mean. Like she doesn't see like typically when I think of a scream queen, I think of more
Well,
hotsy totsy kind of like that kind of a look.
in Halloween,
In Halloween,
what's her name?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis is a scream.
Yeah, I guess you're right. All right.
But yeah, there's a lot more there. Alligator 2. I'm just kind of going through the list right now. The Frighteners, Invisible Mom. Lots of stuff in here. Abominable. So. Oh, she was also in Halloween. What?
What, Jamie Lee Curtis friend or something?
Oh, in the 2007 Halloween, she played Cynthia Strode. Yeah, she did a really good job in this. She's a fine actress.
Mm-hmm.
She's currently 71. She's born in 1946. Oh, wait, that's Joe Dante. She's currently 69. She's born in 1948.
Okay.
Yeah, she did a great job in this. She really acted like somebody that had some kind of trauma happen to her.
Yeah.
Like she had some PTSD going on.
Mm-hmm.
It was so bad that she immediately forgot what she saw. She turned around and saw this murderer turning into a wolf.
Right, like it was a coping mechanism her brain had to do to like kind of help her, you know, how horrible of a thing. That's what I assume at least.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, the mind actually trying to protect itself by forgetting or suppressing something.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting. It started off with her, like, you kind of get the backstory as it's going because the news guy is talking about what's going on, but he's really just kind of rehearsing, right?
Right.
And it's all about how, you know, their woman in the field, their investigative reporter is trying to help track down the serial killer.
Well, see, I didn't get the impression she was an investigative reporter. What I got was, I think it was BTK that did where he wrote in or something to a news anchor.
Possibly.
Okay, I thought it was BTK. I could be wrong.
Zodiac wrote stuff, too.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. But anyway, maybe more than one of them did, but I thought it was BTK.
It might be a common theme.
Whatevs. So basically, I took it as he had a little crush on her, so he specifically requested her.
He was interested in her, yeah.
I didn't get the impression she was just a field reporter. I took it she was actually the...
So, okay, yeah, so there you go.
So basically the cops probably were like, look, well, why are you? We'll keep tabs on you.
She was a
We'll
newswoman.
catch this guy, whatever.
Yeah, she was a newswoman on TV. For whatever reason, he was interested in her. So the cops used that to their advantage to try and catch this guy, who they shot in the theater. Okay, so the movie starts off kind of weird, in a porno theater. What did you think of that?
That it was specifically there?
Like, it started off so grimy.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell she was like the fish out of water, like, walking through this alley. And
I had read that she was very uncomfortable doing that scene, so
really?
her reactions were real in that.
Oh, well. Yeah, like I said, I mean, she kind of has this more wholesome vibe to me. That's why I was kind of surprised she's been in so much horror-y type movies. I don't get that vibe. I feel like this was probably like her one and done thing. I didn't expect to hear that.
Yeah, it starts off with her walking in there. It's kind of actually funny. There's a guy kind of browsing around in there, and as soon as he saw her, he kind of like, oh, what am I doing
that
here?
Down. Yep, I wrote that down. Like, yeah, he definitely probably he drove like out of his way to go to that one.
Yeah, the guy that ran the store was mad she was in there because she was driving all the business away.
Right.
I really felt pretty terrible for her, and she walked in just like it wasn't anything fun going on in that theater. Like, he had that terrible movie playing.
Yeah, basically, I mean, she goes through a lot of stuff. I mean, she's, stalked by a serial killer, forced to go to this thing, sees
her
something.
Earpiece, her communication device with the cops fails.
Yeah, she sees this guy turn into this monster that, such a traumatic event that it makes her, scared to to relive it.
I like that detail, and I don't feel like they did it in a cheesy way.
No, I'm just saying,
to where what she saw shocked her so much that she immediately forgot it.
Yeah,
like,
her
she couldn't
husband
handle
is
it.
stolen away. Her friend gets killed. She turns to a monster, gets killed. Like, I mean,
Spoilers.
It doesn't go well for her. We can cut that.
Yeah,
but,
but no, it's fine because we're going to talk about the whole thing. But yeah, the movie from her point of view is not a very good one, or a very pleasant experience. Like I said, this is a little bit more serious than Joe Dante's other stuff. It's a little weird too, like the whole idea of the colony. Like, I didn't.
Yeah, that
really
is different.
dig that.
Usually, a werewolf movie, it's kind of a lone wolf, no pun intended, kind of thing. Usually, it's just.
I like that it was different, but I didn't like the whole colony being out there. Like, oh, it's just a place where there's all werewolves.
You know what it kind of reminded me of? Like, they were doing almost like a vampire thing, because it seems like a lot of times there's multiple vampires. And, like, even there was, like, a vampire-esque sex type drive to their...
Yeah, well, the one of them...
she's
there's a name for a female dog.
A salamander's kneecap.
So she was the...
Yes.
Of the group. So they get to the colony. It's a bunch of weirdos living on the beach somewhere. Do you have any idea where that's supposed to be? I figured...
No.
Carolinas, maybe?
No, I don't know.
It seemed like it might be Appalachia. There was...
See, I thought it was more like one of the New England states.
But they had, like, hillbillies on the beach with banjos and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, they probably relocated once because they were all of that sort. Because, like, he was getting oysters and stuff. Remember?
I was going to make a joke about Rocky Mountain oysters, but those aren't oysters.
Anyway, continue.
So, yeah, I don't know exactly where that was. Maybe if I read more into it, I'd refresh my memory. They get to that colony. They're kind of accepted into the group, maybe a little begrudgingly by some people. And I don't know. What do you think that doctor was up to? Was he really trying to help her? I got the sense that he was just trying to figure out how much she could remember. And if she remembered anything about a werewolf, they'd have to take care of her. But if maybe he could trick her into thinking she was just delusional.
Here's my thought. I think that the Eddie, he basically wanted a werewolf mate. He was attracted to her. He liked her. I think he wanted to get her to go... Yeah, well, I think actually he wanted to get her right there. But he ends up getting shot. I think he basically wanted her to be like his mate.
You don't think he wanted to kill her?
No, I think he wanted her. I think he had no intent. Just like basically, what was the Marla? Was that her name? I think she had no intention to kill. She jumped on him, she bit him, and she immediately left. She just basically wanted him to be like her equal in that way. I think that was kind of like a theme. They were basically like making their own little civilization.
Yeah, I got the impression that the colony was just... the doctor seemed to be the only one that had any desire to fit into the modern world.
Or was he like basically going just to get like the things they needed? Like in
I think he was trying to make it his goal to where they could live in society without as many problems. He didn't want them killing people because they lived next to all that livestock. They were killing the livestock and eating that. And a few of them...
yeah, because one guy, he owned a livestock. That
right.
was like his business. Like he was I think he was in Walker, Texas Ranger, the actor.
Well, we'll have to ask John. So they were kind of fighting back a little bit. They wanted to be wild, and can you really tame a beast? Mm-hmm. Is the idea.
Okay.
And that was kind of a reoccurring theme. Eddie himself was a beast. He was a serial killer.
Which is funny to me, like, because, he was the main one, and yet they didn't do as much with him as I thought they maybe should have. Because after she is attacked by him, she goes to this place, you really don't see anything of him until...
much later.
Yeah.
Well, they think he's dead.
Right, but then the other two, like, investigative reporters, I guess you might say... They kind of start finding out stuff. They're going to libraries. They go to the...
It took me so long to even try and figure out who those people were.
I assumed in...
They're like her friends that work with her at the station, right?
Right, but I assume they're the type that they basically have to go out...
They do the hard work.
Yeah, they're getting the fact-checking and all that.
And she's more of a TV personality.
And she's the one that actually delivers the news, yes. I was going to say, real quick, if my wife had to do this thing, I would think you would... maybe try to go out there too, like maybe try to stay behind her or keep tabs on her, watch her from a distance. I was kind of surprised that he was just basically in the studio, like with them or wherever they were, like, or a police station, and then they lose signal of her. I was kind of surprised.
I think he also worked there.
Yes, but I'm saying like.
Oh, you think she went out?
Yeah, I was. Well, at least I would never.
Yeah, I had the same thought too. Like, I wouldn't be staying behind while.
Yeah, I would be like, trying to stay like a few steps, like keep my eye on her.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, continue.
I was just thinking maybe in the long run that would have been a bad idea for him, because if Eddie is a werewolf, then maybe he'd be able to smell that they were together, and then he would attack them both. That's maybe, me just
obviously
freestyling.
They don't know. They don't know
right.
that. They think it's just a normal serial killer. I thought it was funny, the guy's accent, the probably the head reporter, he's doing a very proper, dignified, well-educated sounding accent, but then he has this southern accent. Do you think it would have been funnier so they show him in the bathroom?
Well, hold on, real quick. That guy,
yes.
that news anchor, he kind of reminded me of Ted Baxter character in a way, like the dumb news anchor.
Is that from Murphy Brown? That's
from Mary Tyler Moore.
Oh, okay.
I guess a more modern version of that would be Ron Burgundy.
Yeah.
And it was pretty funny when he started talking the hick voice. I was like, oh, that's hilarious. Turns out that guy's name was actually Slim Pickens.
The character's name?
The actor's name.
What?
Yeah, I'm sure that's a stage name.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So, and I think he may have been like a country singer as well.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was doing a shtick.
Okay. So they have him where you see that he's in the bathroom, he's practicing his lines for his next, big report in the mirror, and then eventually the guy, her husband, Bill, was it? He walks in. Personally, I think it would have been funnier if it was a tighter shot of his face, so from your point of view, it looks like he's reporting the news already on camera, and then all of a sudden some guy walks in and then you realize he's in the bathroom. I don't know, I just thought that would have been a funnier moment as opposed to just showing you right off the bat he's in the bathroom. It's neither here or there.
I like that.
Or maybe like the tied up and then like someone walks out, you hear the toilet flush and somebody walks out the stall or something like that.
Yeah, that character's funny. He wasn't on screen very much. Just
no, they didn't
at the
do much
beginning
with
there
him, yeah.
and at the very end. He was one of the small parts of comedy that's in there.
Just the quick accent change, I just thought that was funny.
Yeah. Yeah, so the colony seemed like a weird place. Like, as soon as I got there, I would have felt like, if it were me, this place is weird. I'm not going to stay here for very long.
Yeah, I would think
Just the way that people were even dressed. Everyone was dressed so weird. Nobody there seemed normal at all, except for the two people. Like it was a couple.
That kind of befriended each of them. Yeah, I would think, like, okay, why don't you and your husband just take a trip somewhere? Like, and just kind of get away from work. You know, just do your thing. Like, don't go to this colony. Like, there's really... Because, like, what's the difference? Like, she was going to a few therapy sessions while she was there. But other than that, she...
Really, what would getting away from... I guess maybe getting away from the city would kind of take her away from the situation.
Yeah, possibly.
But I would... Like, if somebody's like, why don't you go to the colony? I'd be like, nope.
Here's a question.
If you're calling it the colony, I'm not going there.
Yeah, because that was originally, as I was watching it before you actually get to the end, I was like, okay, so this is clearly a cult.
Yeah.
But did you notice in the booth scene where, you know, she's sitting, he's behind her, and you finally start kind of seeing him a little bit? Mm-hmm. To me, at least, I don't know if it was just the copy, it didn't look like his mouth was syncing up with his words. Did you not notice that, or...
I remember him being more like a silhouette in that scene, so I don't remember seeing his face at all.
Yeah, you can see his mouth a little bit as he's talking to her, and right before he, like, turn around, you know. But,
every now and then.
I was actually thinking Predator when I said turn around.
Oh, okay.
Anytime.
I was thinking old school.
That's, yeah. Bright eyes.
Yeah. I don't remember
yeah, we'll have
that.
to look at that. I know I always say that, we'll have to look at that, and then I always forget by the time
we never do. Anything we ever say we're going to do, we never do. Just
hey,
check out our Facebook on facebook.org.
The rookie cop comes in, he hears a woman screaming there. Instead of, like, whipping open the door, he just boom, 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 boom. I thought
yeah,
like,
they just unloaded it.
Well, no, it was just the rookie cop. Because if you watch the older cop, he didn't pull his gun. And that's when he was like, put that thing away. And, like, that's why he looks so stunned. Because then he sees the blood, you don't hear anyone, and he realizes that he might have just shot the innocent
Maybe they're
woman.
trying to give you the impression that he killed the girl.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to be the fear that maybe she got killed accidentally.
At first I was thinking it was just like, oh, this guy made a mistake. He just killed an unarmed person. Like, because he was scared. We had no reason to shoot him. Well, even though he technically did. The guy was transforming into a monster.
Right, but I mean, okay, they don't know that. From their point of view, she's probably being raped or sexually assaulted, you know.
Yeah.
Very serious thing, but just blankly shoot through a wall.
No, I think they opened a door.
No, they didn't.
They could see the guy.
No,
that's why he freaked out.
No, man. Watch it again. He shoots aimlessly, and then you see blood pour out from the crack. The older cop.
Why would he do that?
Because he's a rookie cop.
I think they opened the door and saw a monster, and that's when the guy started shooting. Are we going to have to look at it right now?
All right. We're doing it.
Through the magic of editing, here we go. Okay, yeah, I was right, so let's just move on. Okay, you're right. Yeah, he just came in and started shooting
right
aimlessly. Anyway.
Right, which is supposed to be because he's clearly new on experience. He looked shaken by it.
He heard screaming and just ran over and started shooting.
Right.
Without really seeing what he was shooting at.
Right, yeah. Which, thank God he missed her, but, you know.
Yeah, we'll thank the editors. Okay, so they're at the colony. The she-devil instantly locks onto Karen's husband.
Well, they said she was a nymphomaniac.
She was in heat. Technically, I guess, right?
I got the vibe that she's probably slept with everyone there.
Yeah.
And
it's her job to make puppies.
There was a part where her brother, it was that one real hick guy.
The one that was like
the dog,
a little more feral than the others.
RJ or RL. Or
he wore the fur.
Yes, and they said he was like a dog. And
while they were hunting?
Yes.
Yeah.
They said, he's better than any bloodhound or whatever. And when her husband Bill is bringing the rabbits, and he's like smiling real big, and he's like, Marla won't mind cooking it for you. She loves to cook, and he's like doing it. And I'm thinking, like, okay, so dude, you're talking about your sister, like, but you almost look like into it. And I got the impression, like, do you think the brother and sister actually slept together? Like they're that? I mean, they're kind of hickish anyway. Like, that maybe, they... I don't know.
What are you trying to say?
I just said it. Did you not get that vibe or no?
No, I just thought, like, they knew that she was going to be turning him, so they were excited about that. Like, they were getting a new brother or whatever, I don't know.
Alright, okay. Very well.
That could be, I suppose, you sicko.
Hey.
Well, that's what horror's supposed to do. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable.
I thought it was funny how large that... I mean, I know it's just the times. It's not anything to do with anything, but, like, when she's walking out of the shop and she's all shaken and stuff, they show this camera. Looks like it's, like, gonna, photograph something, like checking radiation or something. It's just this huge camera. It was just hilarious to me how big this camera was. You could...
photo camera?
The news camera. It looked like,
Oh, okay. Video camera?
Yeah, it was just kind of funny. I don't know if I guess you didn't notice it.
No.
Idiot. Fine, we're pulling up the scene.
No more of that.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what else. So the doctor was kind of weird. He had the British accent. We've seen that actor before in other things.
He looks familiar, yes.
He's been... What was he in? For me, I think the most recognizable thing he's been in, outside of, like, various episodes of TV shows, would be A View to a Kill.
Okay.
The final Roger Moore, James Bond.
I know the Duran Duran song for the movie.
Yeah. It's a decent theme.
Yeah, that was a good song.
He's been in all sorts of stuff. I had his filmography, but I deleted it.
Idiot. Okay. How did the news people get access to Eddie's room?
Broke in.
Well, it sounded like they got permission from the... I guess that would be like a... Not a hotel, but a apartment complex. There we go, apartment complex.
Maybe...
They were snooping around his room, and they even said, like, we need to call... She goes, we need to call the police. And he goes, not yet.
Well, if they're investigators for the news station, then I'm sure they have their ways.
Okay.
Grease some palms, whatever.
Yeah. I thought it was funny when the dog jumps through the window. It kind of makes you jump because you're not expecting it. I thought it was funny she just swats at it.
Yeah, there was like kind of a mean-looking dog, and they kind of just locked it in a room or something.
That was it was the outside window. It looked like to get outside of the apartment complex.
Yeah, his room is pretty interesting. He had a ton of art in there. A lot of it was wolf-based.
Yeah.
They made it obvious, like, that was definitely his place, and he's a werewolf. Like, if I...
So he left the colony to, what, get her, or what?
Well,
you think?
I think it was one of those things where he just felt too wild and wanted to go do his own thing. So he ran and started killing people, because that's what they wanted to do.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the main thing I took it as is he wanted her as his mate. That he had no intention of killing her. Because everyone else he just killed. But what's funny is, I don't remember, maybe they said that, like, oh, these bizarre killings where, claw marks or whatever. I don't recall them ever saying there was anything bizarre that made them think it was, like, animal-like. That just there was some crazed serial killer. Mm-hmm. Which made me almost think he was doing it just as a man. But I'm assuming that's not the case, but...
It's kind of funny, because in American Werewolf in London, that was one of the points for the first half of the movie, was that David and his friend got attacked by what villagers were saying was just a crazy guy. Mm-hmm. But they said it looked like animal attack. Mm-hmm. And the villagers had actually cleaned and dressed the wounds ahead of time before they took him to the hospital. And then as they started thinking about it more, they're like, that doesn't make any sense. And that was like one of the keys. And this, they kind of gloss over that.
Yeah. I just thought it was funny how insensitive the news manager was, maybe she's pregnant. Or, she just went through this traumatic event, and that's when she tried to come back, and then she, can't do it. And then he says something that would be considered very racist, and then when he has to put on his pre-recorded editorial, he goes, well, that's broadcasting right there, or that's professionalism, whatever he said. It was funny, they made him a big jerk, so you would think there would be this payoff with what happens at the end, that maybe she would get him, and you would almost be like, yeah, that, jerk finally got what's coming to him, but they didn't do anything really further with him. Just saying, typically that's like an arc within these types of movies. Like, he's a bad guy, but he's not like a villain, he's just a jerk.
Are you talking about the Hick?
No, I'm talking about the news station manager, or whatever he is.
I don't remember that part. So you think they were setting him up to get killed later? Cause
right, and then...
Typically they'll do that. They'll make one person...
Exactly, and then he says...
You want that person.
Exactly. But
Kevin McCarthy, that's his name.
Okay.
That's the name of the actor.
Okay.
And he played R.J. Fletcher in UHF.
Okay.
So, Yeah, what did you think of... I mean, he wasn't in the movie
Nothing.
as much as he should be. You already said that, but Robert Picardo.
It was surprising he didn't sound like him. Like, what little he speaks, and I'm not even talking when he did his werewolf mode, but, like, when he was speaking to her, granted it was kind of a low, soft tone, you know. But it didn't even sound like him to me.
I think when you realize that it's him, you're like, oh, okay, now I see it.
Very well.
But I know the person I was watching with is a big Star Trek fan.
Didn't even recognize him.
She had no idea, and then when I pointed out, that's the Doctor, she's like, oh, no way.
Yeah.
And then she's like, yeah, I see it now. So, it's kind of crazy. Like, this is his first film role.
Yeah.
And it's weird to see him with all that hair. I'm sure it was a wig. But you kind of forget how good of an actor he can be because he was playing the Doctor for so long, and that's how we're used to seeing him. Even, like, when he was the garbage man in The Burbs, like... He played that character differently than he played the Doctor, but he was more... He didn't have all that makeup on, so you could tell it was him.
Yeah. I feel like there was a couple, or at least one, Voyager episode where he was, like, singing. And, I mean...
There's several.
Okay, is there several?
He added, like, opera to his sub.
Yeah, and he was actually not half bad. I'm not saying he was, like...
If it was him.
Yeah, well, okay.
I assume it was
sounded
him.
like him, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might not have been, that's all I'm saying.
Sure.
It sounded like him, though.
I love that sweet driving music when they're driving up to the resort or colony. Did you notice that? How bad it was?
I remember pointing out the music. Actually, I think I was into it.
Oh, goodness. It reminds me of one of those Time Life, like, romantic
I can't remember exactly
CD
what...
collection.
I can't remember exactly what it sounded like.
I feel like it was very, like, saxophone heavy. Like
I made a porno music comment.
Yeah, it was not good.
Smooth jazz or something.
Yeah.
Some weird song. By the way, I loved her husband's mustache. He looked like a football player or something, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah. Did you get the... Okay, so you seen Troll 2, right?
Nilbog.
Yes. Do you remember when the family is all in the house and the whole town is there and it's... La, 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 la. Like, they all just are in this trance and they're singing this song and they're all just, like, super hicks. I got that vibe when they were on the beach and, like, everyone's around there. I don't know, it just kind of had a Troll 2... Like, it made me think of Troll 2. I'm not saying they copied off of that. Troll 2 probably came out later anyway.
There were a lot of long, slow scenes that just didn't seem right. Like, they seemed so weird.
Okay.
I'm not saying that necessarily they were bad, but, like, a lot of times I was kind of struggling to understand exactly, like... Maybe understand, like, where the characters were coming from exactly.
Okay.
Like, they didn't make sense. Like, there's this person is not acting like a person. And they weren't people, I guess, but it would have raised so much suspicion from anybody that was visiting there. Like, I would have gotten out of there that night.
Yeah, okay, so here's a question for you. At one point they show her while she's in the colony, she's in a therapy session with the Doctor, and there's other people. Now, are those people all in on it, or are they other potential prey? Like newcomers to this colony?
I'm going to go with option B. Yeah, that he was just trying to pick people out.
So I think it's the first night or something. She hears some howling. She wakes him up.
They said it's coyotes.
Yeah, whatever. She actually goes outside. And I was just thinking, like, I just almost don't feel... Because I know she's, like, in this heightened sense of fear mode.
Yeah.
I just found it hard to believe she would even set foot outside after the event she went through. I mean, heck, I wouldn't even set foot outside without having an experience like that. You know, just... She already feels that it's a weird place with these people. And you got wild animals. She doesn't realize how wild. But wild animals, wolves probably, just normal wolves. She's probably thinking that more of a logical way. And I just was amazed she went outside at all to investigate.
I just rewatched the original Evil Dead movie, and there's a scene like that in there where one girl that's completely freaked out goes outside by herself because she thinks somebody is out there.
So yeah,
and she just kind of starts wandering into the trees, and I'm thinking to myself, what would cause you to do that? Because when you're scared, you want to hide in a corner under a bed, you know?
Yeah. So while she's out there, she notices a piece of clothing, like a piece of fabric. Like, it looks like it was placed on a branch or a bush or a tree or whatever. I was wondering, was that a piece of her outfit from the booth? Because she sees it, she takes it, and it looks like it means something to her. Almost as if he was able to rip a piece off of her as a souvenir, and it was his way of, like, taunting her, like, I'm here, I'm with you, I'm watching.
That could have been.
They never went any further.
He had that cabin that was away from everybody else in the middle of the woods.
Well, that was the what they call him, TC, the dog boy, the one that had the.
No, that was Eddie's.
Eddie's. Oh,
Yeah.
that was Eddie's.
So they had all the same drawings and stuff in it.
Oh, that was Eddie that was attacking. No, because he was the one that got his hand cut off. Yeah, you're right. He got his hand cut off.
Hold on. Remember, Dick Miller was talking about how they can regenerate,
and they never did that, did they? Because that was another thing that confused me. When they show Eddie, he's all like nasty.
Well, it doesn't happen immediately.
I thought he said basically by the next full moon or whatever it was, they're as good as new.
Sure, but like there was time between him getting his hand cut off and showing back up again.
Okay.
But there wasn't any time. There wasn't a whole lot of time, like you're talking about when he got the acid thrown in his face.
Right. Yeah.
Because that all kind of happened.
They show
at
him
once.
when she's in the doctor's office
Yeah.
and she's about to make that or trying to make a phone call, and he's there. But he's like human, but he's all
and he didn't jump
nasty.
out of the morgue right away either.
Okay, very well. So they took some creative liberties. I don't know if I didn't research enough. Maybe you can tell me is it more of a Hollywood thing about the whole full moon, silver bullets, and all that stuff, or is the original werewolf folklore that they can change whenever they want? It doesn't matter about the full moon. Silver bullets don't necessarily have to be the only thing. Different movies take different folklore.
That might be a little more Hollywood than
because obviously American Werewolf they did away with the silver. They could be killed with any bullet, anything. You remember?
Yeah, because it's like, this isn't a movie, Jack.
Right, yeah. We didn't, they didn't do that. This movie, it still requires silver bullet, but they said, it's at will thing. They don't have to, it doesn't have to be a full moon. They can just do it. So I'm thinking, if that's the case, why do it? Like, if basically... I mean, most of them didn't seem to have a problem with it, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, you're this werewolf now, your desire to kill people, but if you can change or not change, then why just not change?
I think that's where they wanted to be in that form.
That's what I'm getting at. So, like, basically...
Why ever change to human form?
Yeah, like, why change there, or if someone was regretful...
Some people don't hunt them down, I suppose.
If someone was regretful of the actions they're doing, if you can control it, why change into it? And then...
Well, they weren't, though.
What do you mean?
The doctor was the only one, the psychiatrist...
They did show him, I think, at the end, though, he changed.
Well, he wanted to get killed.
Okay. See, I guess when I was watching it, I was more under the impression that he was...
He was trying to bring them
bait.
into society.
Yeah. Okay. See, I took it more as
he was trying to lead them into today's modern world. He thought they were all stuck back in the Dark Ages where they had to kill people. He's like, we don't have to do that anymore.
Oh, okay.
I want us to live normal
lives. I thought it was
lives.
the opposite. I thought it was where he was trying to get new people in as either to expand or to just eat.
No, I think he could have been a recruiter, but I think also, like, the whole reason he brought Karen in is because she saw Eddie. And he had to figure out, did she see Eddie? Or is she going to be okay and we can just let her go back? Because if she saw Eddie, he couldn't let her leave at that point. Because then she would give
really
away.
Believe that? That's another thing, too.
Why,
like,
why take a chance?
I guess, but people say they see ridiculous stuff all the time, like Sasquatch or aliens or whatever, and Loch Ness Monster. No one believes that kind of stuff. Well, some do, but anyway.
So you've never seen an abominable Loch Ness Sasquatch? Flying UFO.
Flying squirrel.
I saw a big cat once. Anyway.
Yes, I already told me that story.
Yeah. We'll save that for another day. But yeah, I just got the impression that he had to find out what she knew, and then if she knew too much, they weren't going to let her leave. Either that or they were going to bring her into the group. To kind of as a way to protect themselves.
So is Donna just humoring her, right? Or them, I should say, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing is this big charade to get them.
Yeah. They almost seemed like they didn't care that much. Like, it almost seemed like if they found out, then that was fine. They could just tear them apart.
I was going to say, why humor them? Why not just do it?
I think they were begrudgingly trying to follow the psychiatrist's orders.
Okay, because I was thinking, like, if they,
like, well, fine, we'll give it a shot.
Let's just
yeah.
bite them, make them one of us, or kill them and be done with it.
I think that was that's almost the purpose of the story, is the people fighting their more animalistic urges.
Okay.
Like what separates us from the animals?
Okay.
It's because we're able to control ourselves and think and do and reason things out.
Okay.
When animals just basically act on instinct. That I think that's kind of the whole theme of the thing, the idea of the movie.
Okay, very well. I can roll with that.
Yeah.
TC, the dog boy.
Yeah.
They're using him as a hound. Shouldn't they all have that ability? He apparently has. He's better than a bloodhound, they say.
Maybe he's maybe for him he's not fully human when he takes his human form. Like there's still enough of him that's wolf to where he has better senses or something. He prefers to be more wild.
Okay.
And he looks more wild.
Yeah.
All right, how about the look of the werewolves? Let's talk about the transformation scene. One, what did you think of the transformation scene and compare it to American Werewolf in London?
Transformation scene in here, the thing I didn't like was that weird bubbling effect. It looked like
I kind of like that.
I didn't. It was slow. American Werewolf.
Both scenes were long.
Yeah, American Werewolf was a painful looking like it looked like it hurt him. Where these guys just seemed like they were
just doing it.
Yeah, just kind of doing it. Although there were certain different speeds. Like, okay, for instance, when he meets up with Marla out in the woods, and it goes into that very poorly looking silhouette. It looks almost like a quick transformation, and they look like wolves.
For me, that's one of the more memorable ones. There's the sex scene on the beach, and it's in the middle of the night. They're by a campfire, and you see their silhouette, their people, and then all of a sudden they're howling, and they're like...
So that was a quick transformation.
That was like cartoon animation.
Yeah, and what's funny is before that they're showing like where their teeth are getting big, and like they would cut away, and then they're a little hairier, cut away, they're a little hairier. So it was like slow, and then all of a sudden just bam.
Yeah.
And then his does this, bubbling effect. So it didn't seem consistent. I don't think this was the better of two.
As far as the transformation scene goes?
Yeah, I think the other one
was it good? I enjoyed the scene. Okay. I thought parts of it were a little weird. Like it did seem like it was taking too long. Why couldn't... If it took that long to become one, whatever you're doing would...
Well, what's funny to me is there's a point where...
She could have got away.
She stands there, first off.
Yeah.
And he's transforming, and then she stands there, and he's transforming some more, and she stands there, doesn't do anything. She doesn't try to grab something to him in the face. She doesn't run away, anything. Like, she just stands there, and I was like, why?
She's just so mesmerized, I guess.
Well, I mean, I guess, okay, to give her some credit, I mean, they didn't do this, or at least I didn't get the impression they did this, but I guess you could say maybe because it was such a
shocking thing,
traumatic experience she already had, and it finally was coming back to her. Like her mind, now seeing this again, her mind opened up with what unlocked what she had seen before, and it was kind of maybe traumatized. Like maybe you ever hear people where they talk about how, I was telling my feet to run, but my feet wouldn't move.
Move your toe.
There you go. So maybe it was something like that. They didn't quite emphasize that enough to me, but I can kind of give her a pass on it.
So I thought technically, from a technical standpoint, the transformation scene, especially for 1981, was pretty good.
Okay.
It was far better than a lot of, like, you've seen the Wolfman from like the 30s or 40s, whatever.
Yeah.
And it would just be stills. They'd just cut to another still with more makeup on.
Yeah.
And you can tell that's what they're doing. There's no smooth transition.
Right, so because he's maybe a little over here, now he's a little over there.
Yeah,
or whatever,
and they kind of use some of the same techniques. Like Rick Baker was starting to work on this, but then left it to the other guy to go work on American Werewolf. Rick Baker is obviously better than this other guy, at least at that point in time. They use some of the similar techniques, like the... being able to push the snout out, basically, and, some of the makeup effects that they were doing were very similar. I have to agree, American Werewolf in London, that is, like, the coolest transformation scene ever. I know you thought it went on a little too long, right?
I'm trying to remember... Actually, I'm trying to think of what Silver Bullets looked like.
Did they have a transformation? It seems like every werewolf movie, especially since American Werewolf has
the thing. I feel like it didn't look half bad, but it's been so long since I've seen it, I can't quite
Silver Bullet, it looked more like the Wolfman. Looked like a guy with a wolf mask on.
We'll have to look at it.
Yeah.
I can't remember for sure.
Now, so transformation scene, American Werewolf definitely wins that.
Yeah.
Look of the werewolf.
Probably here. I'm more of a fan of an upright walking. To me, a werewolf is like a wolf man. American Werewolf is the only one I've known where you see him kind of like just a giant wolf, but on all fours, like a wolf would be.
It seems like there's two ways to do it. There's either the bipedal wolf, like what you would normally think of as a werewolf-looking thing.
Yeah.
You know, legs almost like a man's, and then the top half kind of like the torso of a man, but then the head of a wolf. And then there's another way where you've seen it done where like a person just becomes a wolf.
Yes. Yeah, I've seen that.
American Werewolf in London did it more closely to that latter one, except the wolf in that looked monstrous. It didn't look like any normal canine.
I've also seen some, of course, where they can do both, where they can like run around on 2 legs, they can run around on 4 legs if they so choose. Like,
well, yeah,
you know, I guess that's kind of a cheating thing.
I assume in the bipedal ones could probably get down on all fours if they wanted to.
Yeah,
but I tend to agree with you. I like the ones that are up on 2 legs like that.
Yeah, because that makes it more
monstrous.
Yeah, it seems because he's taller that way, and it just seems.
However, scary. I think the final form, the final wolf form, especially for Eddie in this one, was pretty good.
Yeah,
and I liked it a lot. But I still want to give it to American Werewolf just because to me that seems so different. Like it wasn't just a wolf, and it wasn't the man wolf thing. It was just a gigantic gnarly beast. And the way that they did, like, they put him on the wagon or whatever, and they had him move his arms like that. Yeah. It didn't look 100% right, but it looked interesting because it wasn't a guy crawling on his hands and knees. Yeah. And the way they shot it.
You can tell there's something odd about it.
And he's, like, jumping around, biting people's heads off and stuff. It was just craziness. Like, and they just showed just barely enough of him throughout the movie to where you're like, oh, I gotta see it. And then when you finally see it, you're not disappointed in it.
Yeah, I remember the subway scene. Like, I remember it, like...
They just barely showed it. You see him crawling up.
Yeah.
But, no, I do. I really like the wolves in this. I like the look of them. I think a modern-day version of this, if they wanted to use all practical effects, which they'll never do again, could really be something. Have you ever seen... I've been watching a show that comes on Sci-Fi Channel called Face Off.
Is that where they like compete to make things like Hollywood monsters?
Yeah, like
I know of it.
Monster makeup and stuff like that.
I've seen stuff. I've seen probably episodes.
I've actually been watching it, and like some of the stuff they do looks really good. Actually, that has a tie into Star Trek as well.
Okay.
The host, her father, did all the makeup for like Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, there's so many advancements now with like what you can do with makeup and robotics and all that stuff. I really wish I want to see the best somebody can do with like today's technology, but all we ever get is CG. And CG almost always looks bad to me. I know I complain about it a lot, but maybe more than some people. You know, it's not always bad. If used in the right amounts in the right places, it's great. But it never is. It's always overused. And they do it in bright light where you can see every little flaw.
Yeah, it's definitely better if it's something shadowed or just dark.
Just because you can do it in CG and you think it looks good in CG doesn't mean it has to be bright so we can see every little thing. That was the old trick. To make a really good monster, you show it just enough.
Right.
You get the lighting just right.
Well, yeah, they were doing that with The Thing and other stuff like that, showing Alien, where they show it in the dark and a lot.
If you look at if you get a good look at the xenomorph, you can tell it's a guy with a helmet on, basically. Yeah. But the way they filmed it in the movie, and just because of the places where they put it, the lighting, the way they shot it, it looked great. It looked like a convincing monster.
Sure. Did you notice that the book from the Burbs that Ray was flipping through about like satanic sacrifices and
was that then?
That was the same book. And I thought it was funny because we just did The Sandlot. The movie, I think the Wolfman movie from The Sandlot was also shown in this.
They had a lot of... I read it in the trivia. I noticed a lot of that stuff, like the wolf chili.
Yeah.
I was writing all that down in my notes. Like, oh, that's funny. There's wolves everywhere in this movie.
Right.
Every time they show a TV, it's something about a wolf. So, yeah, the wolves look good. The story was a little weird. Do you want to get into final thoughts? Was there anything else you wanted to bring up?
Well, let me just run over some things I have, and you can tell me if they're... anything worth
talking about. Go.
I think we kind of talked about that they're running with a little different folklore, which probably just gives them a little more freedom to do some different things. Mm-hmm. Is he a medical doctor or a psychiatrist?
He's a therapist.
Because at one point, though, he's like giving him a shot, and he's telling him advise him not to travel and stuff like that. I was like, okay.
So I guess that's a psychiatrist that can do medical stuff, right? Or is it a psych?
Well,
Yeah. And a psychologist is all just...
Yeah, usually mental health.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. 80s werewolf movies, we all have strange dream sequences. The Howling has one. The American Werewolf in London and Silver Bullet all have people that were
Teen
bitten.
Wolf. Did Teen Wolf have one?
I don't know.
I think
but they all have strange... Where people that were bitten by werewolves have strange dreams. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
I'm trying to remember now. The one with Jack
Nicholson? I think it's just called Wolf.
Yeah,
Jack Nicholson, yeah.
Yeah, called Wolf. I'm trying to remember if that had one. That was kind of a different one, too.
Yeah. I think I mentioned it has kind of that vampire-y sex vibe thing going on there.
Yeah,
it's
there's...
like almost like they were trying to bring a little bit of that flavor
There's
in.
a little more sexuality in it.
Well,
that was kind of in the other one, too, though. Because after...
Oh, yeah.
After David... Before he transformed for the first time, but his body was going through some stuff and he was having the weird dreams, then he went home with the nurse.
Yeah, okay.
And he just couldn't keep his hands off of her because he was becoming an animal.
Yeah. The recording that her colleague makes, I thought maybe that would do... There's one point where she wakes up, she hears a ton of howling, and she makes a little recording. I thought
they kill her.
True, but I didn't know if that tape would ever be somehow brought up again. Like, I don't know. Because it's... You would think, I mean, we might say, well, it's just an audio tape of howling. Like, what's so unique about that? But, maybe someone that knows animals...
Well, if somebody was investigating it and they made a recording, I'm sure they would get it around to as many experts as they could and have it analyzed.
Again, so they said they can change at will, but when Bill first changes, it seems like it's involuntary. So I'm assuming that's like a first-time thing. It's uncontrollable.
Sure, he's new at it.
Okay. You said something. What'd you say about the theme music? You did like it or didn't? Because I wrote
when they were driving.
Just the theme music. I wrote that it's not very good.
I don't know. It's hard for me to remember the music.
I thought it was funny when she's in this strange house. She just starts opening. They show her from our point of view. It looks like just this dark, open, empty space. And I thought it was funny. She opens the door and she just sticks her whole face in there. I would think you would want to at least whip it open and kind of be ready for something. No? You remember what I'm talking about? Okay, I just thought it was very brave. Or stupid.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was great when she gets attacked. She actually gets a hatchet and does the right thing with it. But then she leaves it. She manages to cut off his arm with it. And then she runs away. And I was like, I would be taking it with me.
Maybe she thought it would slow her down. Hatchets aren't light.
Hatchets are small, man.
Oh.
But if we're talking life and death here. It's weird.
Got a werewolf in the basement.
The file cabinet scene that actually surprised me. She's looking through the file cabinets, and there's no way she couldn't have seen or heard it. But basically, it was for us, our sake, our shock, that she's looking through the files and she sets one down. She's looking at the next one, and then all of a sudden she goes to set one down. And I think his hand, the wolf hand, he's there and he's.
That can happen when you're focused on something. You may not.
I guess it shocked me. It surprised. It made me kind of jump. I wasn't expecting that, but I thought it was a good little jump scare. Why does the light hurt them? She is able to get the light on him, and it seems like it hurts him more than it just being a bright light. It almost seems like the vampire thing where, light or certain bright lights.
I don't know, because it's been a few weeks since I watched it. I think maybe because dogs might have better vision at night, and it was dark, so just the bright light may have...
Yeah. I think I said this already. We see the return of our two favorite garbage men from the Burbs.
Yeah.
I did say that? Okay, great. There were certain shots where she's walking through the woods. It just kind of looked like Endor. I almost wondered if it was the same area that they filmed. Which I did. What's funny is I didn't notice that the first time. I noticed it actually
Robert Picardo said he was in California filming, right? So they were probably...
And I think they were there, yeah.
Like big redwoods.
Yeah. I think you kind of elaborated. I wrote down, so this is probably invalid. I wrote down, they don't want to be exposed, but they bring a well-known TV reporter into their colony. But I think now you made it a little more understanding.
Okay.
This one you kind of made sense too. I had wrote, why does he look like a zombie, Robert Picardo or whatever? Because he just looks he looks more like a zombie to me when he comes out at one point. Which I'm still okay. That was just your kind of theory, right? That it's a slower process of regenerating.
Yeah, it's quick enough to where it happens, but
And see, I remember, well, assuming that he knows his stuff, the bookstore owner, he says, like, basically by the next time you're as good as new. Maybe you can chalk it up to just
Well, it's 30 days.
legends.
Takes a month to be fully healed up.
So the part where they're, like, outside the barn and the other guy has the gun, I can't remember his name, Christopher, I want to say?
Walking?
Yes. He has them at gunpoint. And, you know, he has silver bullets in it, too. I would just start popping them, man. Like, he manages to get them to go back into the barn or whatever it was and, you know, basically lock them in, set it on fire. I think I would have just started popping them myself. It's actually, to me, it's amazing that he got out alive, unscathed, non-bitten, all that stuff.
Where was he when his girlfriend was getting attacked?
Yeah, that's another thing. He let her go alone again. Like,
yeah.
He stayed behind. I can't remember why they explained.
The guys in this movie sucked.
Yeah. They're in the barn and they're breaking through the boards, but there was a part where they can't seem to break through glass. I thought that was kind of strange.
Were there windows there that they could have went out?
There was another part in it where there was windows and they acted like
the car?
Yes, that was it. Yeah, I was thinking like, okay, you just busted through the boards of a barn or whatever that was, but you just can't just like smash the car window and get in there and get.
Well, they got in there eventually.
Yeah, we got a little stop motion segment there.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember where that was at.
It was when they finally got away. I think they ended up getting in the police car, and they show like 3, maybe 4 wolves, but I want to say 3 out in the road, and it was clearly a stop motion.
I love stop motion.
It was the full thing because, like, you know, in these types of movies, you know, you're either seeing from like the waist up, or you see like another scene where it's like the waist down. So there was a whole shot of them, so it was stop motion.
Okay.
So, if they can change at will, why does he kill her? What do you think? Like, you know, she'll be able to control it, or no? Like, why does he kill her?
Who?
Christopher. When she changes
at the very end.
Yeah, she changes in the news, on live TV and all that stuff, and he shoots her
to make sure she doesn't lose control and kill anybody. It was what I would assume.
Okay, how did he still have silver bullets?
You were saying earlier that this actress, Dee Wallace, that you think of her as more like wholesome and cute and all that stuff. Is she not the cutest werewolf you've ever seen?
It is a very different look, yeah.
Like it almost looks like a were-hamster.
She's crying.
A were-gerbil or something like that. She looks more like the thing from the Dark Crystal, the little dog creature.
Yeah, it's a very different look.
She's got like a button nose. It looks so funny.
And I thought it was interesting they put a post-credit scene. It's a secret scene in the
Did they?
Yeah, I can't remember what it is, but I remember there was one.
I don't even think I stuck around for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
You want to go look at it?
No, not really.
Okay.
Next time I watch it.
Yeah, so that's basically just me running down my list.
Alright, so how'd you feel about this movie?
I feel like it could have been done better, but I do think the ideal is kind of interesting because like we said, most werewolf movies are kind of a lone wolf thing, no pun intended. It was different to see like a colony of them. So I thought that was kind of actually interesting. You know, some things I wish they would have been a little more clear on, like the regenerating thing. We're doing a lot of speculating, or you are, I should say, to try to make it make sense, which is fine. I just, maybe if they would have explained how long does it take to get fully back to normal or whatever, or what is the...
You wanted more rules?
I guess. You know, like...
Or more clarification upon that?
Yeah, like the whole, they said they can change at will. It doesn't have to be a full moon, because obviously we see them in the light of day. But
I'm sure in the book it was probably, they covered all of that, but in the movie you just don't always get time, or sometimes stuff gets edited out.
But I was thinking too, like, you know, sometimes you can see the moon in daylight. Have you ever had that, like, where it's like maybe like it's the early morning, it's blue sky, but like you still see a moon?
Yeah.
So theoretically, even under regular werewolf rules, if it was a full moon still in the daylight, theoretically one could still be a werewolf, right? Or is this really overthinking it? Or like sometimes as it's getting evening, it's still light out, but you can already see the moon, and I've looked up and seen a full moon, technically in some daylight.
I don't know. I never thought about that.
Anyway. But yeah, so it was... I guess it's cool that they did some things different, like, you know, so that we could see a werewolf in daylight. But in another way, it's like, I don't know, it just almost seems like their rightful place to be at night, like creatures of the night stalking. And they did a lot of that too. It's not that they didn't, but
Well, wolves are
yeah,
primarily nocturnal.
So,
I believe.
I'll go with that. I don't know, but I'll go with that.
A lot of predators are.
Yeah. So yeah, okay.
Want to grade it?
I think I will be generous with this one, only because even though some things I thought were a little sloppy or just a little gray, I wish they kind of just give me. I'm not saying you have to go. I know I'm an overthinker, granted, but I think they could have just given a little more just to get some clarification. But despite all that, just a different kind of setting, the ideal of like a community of them, and not just one to deal with. I will give it a C-.
Okay. Yeah, I like this movie. I remember seeing it because, I think werewolves and monsters are cool. I like the idea of transformation effects and all that stuff. Yeah. The scene, like, after she had cut off his arm and his arm is laying there and it's a werewolf arm, and it changes back into a hand, it almost looks perfect. Mm-hmm. It's pretty crazy that they were able to accomplish that, and they only had, like, a fourth of the budget of the other movie.
Yeah.
The other movie was better, but, I mean, still.
Yeah.
The plot was maybe a little more ambitious than they were able to handle at the time. It seemed to be more of a heady type of thing, more of a psychological and type of deal going on. Seemed like it tried to be deeper than it was able to pull off. Okay. And yeah, just like my confusion on certain things, like I didn't know who those people were, and it took me a while to figure it out.
Here's one I won't.
And the weirdness of the group there, like, I don't know, man. Did they have to all be such weirdos? You know what I mean?
Here's what I want to know. What's scarier, werewolves or Hicks?
That's racist.
Anyway.
It's were-person.
Okay.
Anyway, so, I gave American Werewolf an A, I believe. Maybe even an A+. I'll give this one a C. So I'm about the same neighborhood as you. Maybe I liked it just a tiny bit more. I'm surprised you liked it as much as you did, actually.
Like I said, I mean, it wasn't a perfect movie, but, like, I can appreciate what they were trying to go for. Mm-hmm. And
it's neat to see Robert Picardo with all that hair.
And I can appreciate, I mean, I really did like the look of them, at least. Well, let's see. How many do you actually see? You see...
There's a lot of werewolf movies, and not a lot of them get the look right. This one had, like, what I think of... When I think of a werewolf, I think of these creatures.
Yeah. Like, I know it's all CGI. I don't know why. I just recently rewatched Van Helsing.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I know.
One of 2 movies I ever wanted to walk out on in the theater.
And
actually, I'm going to make that 3. One of 3 movies I ever wanted to walk out in the theater.
The werewolf's head, like, they did this thing where it was, like, the ears pointed, like, up like that, and gave it this very narrow head look. Yeah. And I just, like, why do they... I mean, again, it was all CGI. It was a terrible movie anyway. But why do they have to even, in CGI, render their werewolf so bad, but whatever.
I almost want to go back and watch it again to see if it's as bad as I remember.
It's on Netflix. Go for it.
What do you think of it?
I don't like it. Van Helsing?
Yeah, were you tempted just to turn it off?
It was hard to watch it.
Okay.
It was a point where, like, I was kind of wanting to do other things, because I only seen it the one time when it was out in theaters in 2004, whatever.
It was shortly after Hugh Jackman got big from playing Wolverine. Yeah. And I remember he was supposed to be like a monster hunter, and they had like a Frankenstein type.
Wolfman, Jekyll Hyde, Dracula, little gargoyle things. Yeah, basically everything.
All sorts of stuff. And I'm like, oh, that could be cool. Yeah. So I went to go see it, like, I think it was on my birthday with a friend. Okay. And I remember leaning over about halfway through. I'm like, we can just go if you want to go. That, Birth, and there's another one I watched recently. Birth. That you probably haven't seen it. It was a Nicole Kidman movie, and it was really stupid.
Oh, yes, I heard. I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was one of the stupidest movies.
Where she thinks her son, or her husband is reincarnated or something in this child. Okay. And what was the other one?
More recent, that horror movie that came out, what was it? Hereditary. A lot of people, like, I've heard good things about it, and I went to go see it, and there were good things about it, but there's so much stupid stuff that I just had so much trouble with it. Okay. And people in the theater were being jerks, too. So. Okay. Anyway, I give the movie a C. You give it a C-. That's our werewolf movie. Last year we kind of were thinking about it, and we're like, we're a little bit heavy on the aliens, so we might do an alien movie. Who knows? We're definitely planning some more serious horror movies, and then we have a special one for the 30th. planned. So stick around for more of Monster Month.